This time in the Magic Kitchen, step into the Kitchen Witch's Hearth, our quarterly series where we dive deep into the kitchen witchery of the season.
I'm Leandra Witchwood.
And I'm Elyse Wells.
And welcome to the Magic Kitchen podcast, where we talk about magic, kitchen witchcraft, herbs,
and everything in between.
The Magic Kitchen podcast is fully and independently funded by the Witchwood Tea House. So show us some support and head over to thewitchwoodteahouse.com to purchase some deliciously hand-blended loose leaf teas or one of my other botanical products. As a special thank you for your support, please use POD15 at checkout to take 15% off of your next order. So without any further ado, let's get to the episode. Blessed be. Okay, so, what have I been up to? Planning. So right now I don't have a whole lot of things going on as far as like activities, although I am preparing for the New Visions Holistic Expo, which is the beginning of August. So if you're in York or in the York area, that one's coming up quickly. And that one's such a great expo because it's so many practitioners coming together. And of course, I'll have my booth there with my teas, and I'm going to get some readings. So you should come and get your readings too. Maybe some Reiki done, all that fun stuff. But I am, like I said, I'm in the process of planning so many things that are coming through the pipeline the next 60 to 90 days. Still preparing for Temple Fest, which is the end of August, beginning of September. But yeah, I don't have a whole lot of other things going on at the moment. It's just all planning. So yeah. Buckle your seatbelts. Things are coming.
See, I've been saying that for months now, and I can finally share some of the things that are coming down the pipeline. So the biggest thing first, because of course, I can officially release this announcement. Yeah. And you might have caught my Instagram live and you're like, oh, I already know that, Elyse. But it's still big news, so you're going to know it again. I have signed a contract with Llewellyn for my first book, which will be – they're not letting me release the title yet. I have a really good title. I hope they let me keep it, but we're going to see it. Oh. It is going to be all about connecting to land spirits and deepening your spiritual path by having a connection to the sacred wild. And I'm really excited to share this because it's going to be a culmination of so much of what I've learned living on 3 different continents, traveling to probably hundreds at this point of sacred sites, and tapping into that energy and learning the commonalities and the ways that we can realize the sacred places around us no matter where we live, and the ways that land spirits are reaching out to us and really waiting for you. So I just cannot wait to share that with you. And I will be doing a book tour for that book. That book is going to come out in spring or summer. I really feel intuitively it's going to be June, but they have no way to tell me that for sure, of 2025. So I will be doing a book tour for that. And if you want to support my book tour, if you want me to come to your city, I'm really trying to prioritize traveling to places that my patrons are at. And all of the money from my Patreon goes 100% to my book tour. So you can join my Patreon at patreon.com/Elyse Wells. I have an incredible library of spells and rituals for your Book of Shadows. I have so many journal prompts. And because these books are coming down the pipeline pretty quickly for me, I also have my novel coming out next year. As hopefully people remember, I finished that book in 2021 and signed a contract in 2022. And fiction just takes so long. So nonfiction, they were like signed and on the calendar. And I was like, oh, wow, crazy. So that book is definitely more writing work to be done. But the other book is now in the other phase of work, which is the promotion and all that fun stuff. And that'll come out in September. What the Water Remembers, my paranormal mystery, empowering witches in and out of the broom closet. That's going to come out September 30th, 2025. I finally have a release date. So anyway, lots of book tours coming up next year. So Patreon membership starts at just $10 and you get so much in return for that. And it helps me immeasurably. And as the books come out, of course, I'm going to be offering opportunities for free and discounted books to patrons as well with signed copies and all that good stuff. So yeah, I'm going to get very annoying in 2025 when pre-orders open. But until then, pop over to Patreon for the exclusive updates and to support those efforts. And I also have a couple other announcements that some of them you may have noticed on social media, but it's time to really get this in front of the real community of the Magic Kitchen. I will be hosting the Know Thyself retreat to Delphi in 2025, in April of 2025. I will be welcoming you to this gorgeous, off the beaten track resort that is slowly getting traction. It's new this year. So as soon as I connected with the site, I knew it was the place to host this at. And we're going to go to Delphi. I'm going to take you to some of my favorite valleys and caves to meditate in and connect with. We're going to do some water priestessing in the sea. And this place has a couple of pools as well. And it's going to be limited to just 13 witches. So if you're interested in this, sign up for the wait list. It's just a wait list right now. I'm still working out financials. I'm going to make this as affordable as possible. And I really want this to be something special. So if you're somebody, the real people I'm calling in for this are the people who feel a bit overwhelmed by their magical path and a bit unsure who they are as a witch. Maybe you don't even think witch is the word for you. I'm calling in druids. I'm calling in pagans. I'm calling in people who don't like labels at all. I want the people who really want to know thyself. And know thyself is the most popular of Apollo's Delphic maxims. And know thyself was carved over the top of his temple that we'll see and meditate at for this retreat. And it'll be in April, which is the off season, but still warm enough to enjoy the pools and the sea. So it should really be a magical, liminal time to experience Greece when all the wildflowers are blooming. And so I'm so excited to bring you to these places. And this summer, I'm offering day retreats. I'm quite confident I won't be able to next year because of these book tours. So this is the chance. If you're coming to Greece and you would like to spend a day with me, it is a full day of facilitation and mentorship at sacred sites. And it's been so fun. I have some testimonials on my website if you want to check out what people are saying. And I would just love so much to meet you. You may have noticed that here at the Magic Kitchen podcast, we don't have sponsored ads. That's because this is a fully listener-supported show. We do what we do for you, dear listener, and when you join my magical living community on Patreon, you're supporting all the time and energy that goes into setting up podcast interviews, writing articles and rituals, my paranormal mystery novel, and all that I do. And in exchange, you're getting over 10 exclusive journal prompts, rituals, witch tip videos, meditations, and more each month. If you love this podcast, consider joining my magical space. I can't wait to meet you and be an even bigger part of your magical journey. Go to patreon.com/Elyse Wells or follow the link in the show notes. I can't believe we're in summer, except I can because it's hotter than hell.
We are. Yeah.
We thought we'd talk about summer potions and some fire rituals because it's hot. So the element of fire is very accessible this time of year. And when I say potions, there's many meanings you could have for this, of course, but I love making teas and concentrates and ice cubes and things that I will cool down and be refreshed and hydrated from to survive this heat, because I may live in Greece, but I am not a summer person at all. I cannot stand it. It is horrible. I hibernate until nighttime and then I leave my house.
Yeah. I feel that. I find that I end up getting up really, really early in the morning, not because I want to or plan it that way, but because I have birds that scream outside my window at like 4:30 in the morning. So I end up getting up and I, go for my walk. I get my day started. So typically like my day is done by like, I don't know, 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon because I've started it so early, but it's perfect because I can go in the house, the air conditioning's on. Like right now during this recording, like it is going to be in the high 90s here in Pennsylvania. And I'm not having it. I am not having it. So yes, all the like making ice, herbed ice, flower ice, citrus ice, like all the things you can do with ice cubes to make flavored water and teas. Yeah, I'm all about that. So I'm right there with you. One of my things that I do most during this time of year is harvesting my herbs, of course, and preserving them. So I know we often think about just drying them when we're preserving them, but we can do all kinds of other things. So you mentioned making ice cubes. So making herbed ice is one of those things. But I also like to take oils and butters, and I'll make herbed oils and herbed butters. And that not only lasts, several more months after you've harvested them, but you can freeze it. And then if you have ice cube trays, you can have this perfectly portioned amount of oil and herb to place in with your chicken, or even top a steak with it if you like to do that. I am partial to clarified butter or ghee. So I will make ghee and I will infuse it with herbs and spices. And because I don't like the heat, I am indoors. I spend a lot of time in the kitchen doing those kitchen witch things. And one thing that I like to do if I'm doing any baking or if I'm doing any kind of like crusts or even puddings and stuff, I like to put little sigils in the mix so that it's infused with that magical intention. And I think sometimes we just think of magic having to be this like elaborate, difficult thing when it's sometimes the most simple things make the biggest differences.
Yeah. Yeah, I do infused olive oils because salads are my lifeline. Like when it's hot, I just can't eat hot food. I just can't.
Yes.
So I'll make a nice big salad.
Nope.
And my favorite infused olive oil is probably actually rosemary. That's not always the best on salads, actually, but I like it on salads. Some people don't like that flavor. But it's really good on beet salad. I really recommend that. Like if you boil some beets, the skin comes right off and you can slice it up and toss it with some rosemary, olive oil, and some salt. It's very good. It's one of my favorite treats in the summer.
Yeah, I love those herbal infused creations like oils and butters. Inks. So this is something that you don't hear about a lot. And it's something that I learned to do from my mentor many years ago. And so this time of season, a lot of bonfires, going out and, cooking over the fire, outdoor cooking, charcoal. So if you can take that charcoal and the spent or burnt remnants of your spells, you can create your own ink using that. And magical inks are an amazing thing. And I don't know why we don't do more of it. I guess it's because it's one of those things that kind of glides into the radar. And it can be messy, but you can use your herbs. You can use your onion skins. You can use beets. You can use berries and all these different ingredients to create these wonderful inks. And I'll be teaching that in the community coming August. So this time of year is so perfect for that because we can take our mint leaves when we have an abundance of mint or lemon balm or what else is going really nuts right now. Even motherwort and all these herbs that have a purpose beyond just our medicinal uses and magical uses. We can create these inks and use them in creating our sigils, writing our recipes, writing in our books of shadow, that sort of thing. Yeah. It's so much can be done with all these plants that are like thriving right now that, they like the 90-degree weather. Me, not so much.
Well, and actually in Greece, it's the opposite. There's hardly any plants in the summer. It's I call it spiky season because the only thing left are these dead, horrible, spiky things that scrape up your ankles, and it's too hot to wear leggings when you hike. And oh my gosh, you can't enjoy yourself outside in Greece this time of year, unless you're in the sea, of course. So doing like a seaweed wrap or something. I have a weird thing about Greek seaweed. It's like this different texture. It's brown and it's just an unsavory feeling for me. But it's very good for plants. So if you do live in the Mediterranean, that like nasty brown, phykia, as we say in Greek, like little leaves, little weeds, you can take those and put them on your plants as like mulch or fertilizer. So it is really good stuff. And if you wanted to sacrifice a blender to the cause, you could blend it into like a paste and like dry it out and store it as well. Because it's super, super good for plants. Like my mom has saved so many plants with that, with the harvested seaweed that she gets. And I would imagine it's the same for any like sea life or algae or something. Like I'm sure it's just pretty nutritious for plants, house plants and things.
It is. It's so nutrient dense.
Yeah. Because I forage. Like we talked about this before, I think in the last Kitchen Witches Hearth on Plant Allies, but I don't have land. Unfortunately, I've never had my own land. So I've never really been a gardener, just by circumstance. And with how much I travel as well. So I forage a lot and I look for plants that want connection. And that doesn't always mean bringing them home. This time of year, if you do live somewhere where it's more alive this time of year than not, thinking of our listeners in Canada who like this is the only season of respite they get that they can be outside, just making sure to make time to enjoy the weather, even when it is a little too hot for comfort, maybe just prioritize going tubing or sitting by a river with your feet in the water or driving out to the beach, like trying to make the most of every season, even when you dislike it. Like me, I remind myself that about 50 times a day in the summer. But there is something for thriving that can kind of heal you. Like I go over to the rose bushes because they're really doing well right now, or the oleander. Oleander is like blooming beautifully in Greece. And until September, it'll bloom for like months in beautiful, huge arrays of color. So I try to pull in a little bit of that energy for my sanity. Meditate with them a little bit. Drum with them.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I get up so early in the morning in the summer, because then I can connect with nature without feeling like I'm melting.
Yeah, I do the opposite. I just connect at night. I drummed last night at midnight.
Nighttime.
I literally went out on my roof at midnight and drummed.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Nice. As long as your neighbors aren't like,
yeah, no, that's the beauty of Greece. It just gets louder by the night. So all the beach bars were doing their thing, and I was like, I will just be drumming.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I think my neighbors would like give me that side eye, like, what are you doing? Why are you making so much noise? Which brings me to another ritual that I really enjoy during this time of year, because it is such a fiery time of year. So fire rituals are a really big thing. So that bonfire magic, the fire magic, lighting the candles, lighting the wood on fire, burning the things that you need to cleanse yourself of, clean those blockages out with the fire. And one great way to do that is a rage ritual. So I don't know if anybody's ever heard of these. We used to do these all the time when our coven had like a place in the woods where we didn't have, we wouldn't annoy people with our screaming, but literally you're screaming at things. You're screaming at the fire. You are releasing all of your anger, your hostilities, your resentments, anything that is that agitating sensation we get from just being done with the world, being done with the toxic relationships, being done with the patterns that no longer serve us. It's screaming into the fire your intention to release those things from your life. And trust me, if you're doing it right, you're going to lose your voice the next morning, or at least come very close. You're going to be very hoarse. Definitely have a lot of tea, a lot of soothing throat tea and water around when you do these rituals. And try and do it when your neighbors aren't going to get super annoyed with you. So, and pray that they won't call the cops, because if you're really releasing this stuff, it can get loud. because you're taking all of that sediment out of your system and you're clearing it out. So I recommend either doing this with like a group of people at a retreat or some place where you're not going to have your neighbors calling the police or, coming to check on you to make sure that you're okay. Or at least, give them a heads up like, hey, I'm going to be doing this cathartic thing that it's going to be noisy for about 20 minutes. So just, be cool with that. But those are a great thing to do this time of year. You could even do it while you're cooking. So leaning it back into the kitchen witch atmosphere. You can. So one of the things we used to do is we would create a rage soup. And this isn't one we ate, so we didn't eat it. So what we would do is we would cook things that would like give us that physical reaction, like onions that make you cry, pepper that would make you sneeze. Like nobody would want to eat this thing because the ingredients that go into it are so gross together. Like not gross as, individually if you're just using it as an accent, but like the ingredients, we would put so much of these ingredients in there that were meant to pull things from the body, but also from the psyche, also from the spirit. So this soup, while it's bubbling and cooking and we're literally screaming into it, releasing that aggravation and that anger into it. Once it's cooled, once it's done, we would go and we would pour it out onto the ground and bury it. So that we are releasing and returning that rage so that it can be composted and reused in a more productive way. So that is, absolutely. Transmute that energy into something. Oh, talking about it, like remembering it is making like everything like stand up on my skin. Like the chills are amazing because these are such great rituals. But again, like you have to give your family forewarning that you're going to be screaming at the soup and don't eat the soup.
I love it. That's really great. And to have the connection to the fire as well, like screaming into the fire. I also was thinking like you have a cauldron. If you have a cauldron, this could be a chance for some cauldron magic as well. Like if you can bring the cooking outside. I feel like there's something so special about eating off of a campfire. Like, there's nothing cooler. I don't know. That's just how I feel. Like, when I can just put what I want on a fire and then eat it. Like, it's so, so special. So, brewing something, that could be an activity you can do with others, actually, is bring ingredients to a stew. Maybe you decide on a base flavor that you're going to sort of go for, and then just have everybody bring something that has a significance to what they want to manifest or what they want to ignite. Like for me, I always think of fire as something that's ready to be ignited within us. How can we do that? How can we find the right? How can we release what we need to make room? Fire makes space when it destroys. Yes. And that's something that I always find myself focusing on with fire magic. So yeah, like cauldron magic is, it's so much fun. Like to be able to cook is one thing, but you also could decide to make a oil or a tincture, or like, it doesn't have to be a big, huge cauldron. It can just be a little guy that's, going to hold 8 ounces of water, and you can add different things to that. Oh yeah.
The baby cauldrons.
Yes, like that little guy.
For those who are not seeing this visually, like I'm holding up a tiny little cauldron. It holds about, 6 ounces of liquid. It's teeny.
Yeah.
But it's heavy cast iron.
And you can definitely like carry that out into a campsite or something. Like there's definitely that practical element too of smaller cauldrons that make them awesome.
Yes.
But
just don't drop them on your toes.
Yeah. I dropped a candle holder on my toes yesterday. I was cleaning my altar and I was like, why? But honestly, I thought about it. If it hadn't landed on me, it would have landed on tile and probably shattered. So I was like...
And then probably shattered it, yeah.
I'll take one for the team.
As long as it didn't break your foot,
it was a little chime holder, a little one. Little ceramic chime holder.
Okay. So it wasn't the big baddies. Hey there, witches. Did you know that there's an entire community out there dedicated to you and your journey? The Rebel Mystic community is a space where I offer my decades of knowledge and experience to witches just like you. I do this through live events, monthly mentoring, monthly rituals, a book club, and other resources like workbook pages and meditations. There is even a complete self-paced course library you can access. Check the link in the show notes to learn more about this community and how to become a member. Blessed be. Potions, elixirs, tinctures. Yeah, well, tea is my potion. Like, that is where my potion making comes from. And then from making my tea blends, then I make tinctures, I make elixirs. Some of them can even be made into salves and baths. So there's so much. Like, this is a time to create. Like, it's a time to be active with your ingredients. So if you have like those ingredients in your cupboard or in your cabinet that have just been sitting there, like, pull them out, connect with them, find out how they want to be used, and make some potions. One of my favorites right now is like strawberry. So something with a strawberry flavoring, or not flavoring, but a strawberry being the ingredient, the main ingredient. So I make iced tea with it, but sun tea. So making like moon water, but I make sun tea. So it's infused with that active, vibrant, motivating, abundant energy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love to make concentrates. I want to say I've shared this before. It might have been in a bonus episode. But my husband loves soda, and I've been trying to get him away from buying it because he's like, it's bad. Like, soda's bad for you. Yeah. So, you don't need it. I've been I've been making these concentrates, and then he adds carbonated water to it. So the recipe is simple. Like, it's 1 cup of dried herb, 1 cup of sugar, and usually 1 cup of water. But if I do a lemon concentrate, I actually do 1 cup of lemon juice to 4 cups of water. So it's 5 cups of liquid to 1 cup of sugar.
Yeah.
I don't know why that works. And maybe that's Greek lemons. Maybe like a more commercially grown lemon doesn't have as much of a sweetness to it. So you might need more sugar. But it's simple. It's very simple. You just kind of simmer that together for 30 minutes to an hour. And then what I do while that's brewing, and I like lavender as well. Like, I'll add a cup of dried lavender to my cup of lemon juice, or mint and lavender are very good as well. Lemon balm is really tasty. I did verbena last year. Yes. I'll probably do that again this year. And then I'm waiting to find the right peaches, but I think peach and jasmine would be amazing. We have a lot of wild jasmine.
Peach and rosemary would be great too.
Ooh.
It's really good. I have a recipe in my Magic Kitchen Witch book that I wrote, and it's for a jam. But you can, the recipe, you can take out like the pectin and everything and use it as a syrup or as a concentrate of some sort for sodas. And I was using it originally. Started using it to make adult drinks. And that's how I'm like, oh, this would make a great jam. And then I started like using it in other things. And then I ended up landing on simple syrup with it. And that's another thing that I love making. That's a potion too, you know, all these herbal concoctions. But I'll make simple syrups, lavender and rose and lemon. And I think I have lavender in the refrigerator right now. But they're great for cocktails. They're great for flavoring your tea if you just like black tea in the summertime.
Yeah. So while that's brewing, if you do a tincture or you do a cauldron working or anything, you can take this principle and apply it. But while it's on the heat, while it's connected to the element of fire, I will stir or use my hand over the top of it in a clockwise direction, thinking about what I want to manifest with these ingredients. So let's take the lavender and lemon. So, because I've been making that one a lot lately for my husband. So the lavender is about calm and being able to check out when work is over. And with the lemon, I'm thinking, how can I activate creative energy for him after the workday is done? Because sometimes, as we all do, at the end of a workday, you don't really want to contribute to your own well-being. Like you don't want to take a class or go to the gym, or so really getting that activating energy going. And then I also go counterclockwise, banishing what I don't want this to manifest as. I don't want it to be a nervous energy. I don't want it to be poor sleep. And I just think through that and make sure that the intention is pure for what it will be. And then while I'm straining it, I'm just visualizing what I want to happen when he's drinking it or when I'm drinking it. And that can be specific too. If you're having a little dinner party or you're having a cookout and people are coming over, you can have ideas about how you want it to go. Maybe you're inviting a couple friends who are recently single and you're hoping they're going to hook up. So you put a little rose petals in there and you manifest good conversation for them. Or, like you can really get personal and specific with the intentions of a sangria or an iced tea or sangrias are great versions. I don't drink, but
sangria.
I love the idea of mocktail sangria.
I'll drink some. Yeah. Can't go wrong with a good sangria. Absolutely. I think another really great way to use the abundance of the season are just cooking those seasonal foods. So get right down to it. Like, what are you going to cook for dinner tonight? And go to your farmer's market or even your local grocery store. And there's so many directories out there that'll show you what's in season right now. And maybe cook a meal that is absolutely 100% all in season and hopefully local. Like that would be the best. And then look at the properties of those ingredients. Like, what do they mean? So if you're using squash, what does that mean? If you're using onion, what does that mean? Celery, whatever is available to you. And don't get too rigid on it. Like maybe you can only find one ingredient that's local and in season right now. And that's just what's available to you. So work with that. Like work with what you can work with. Try and do as fresh as possible and just see where it leads you. Maybe all you have is you have chicken breast and that's all you have. So maybe you look up, oh wait, I also have cheese and I also have some spinach. I have some sun-dried tomatoes. So you can make a stuffed chicken breast type thing. There's all these, with the wealth of knowledge that we have on the internet, like it's almost impossible not to find a solution for dinner or for that potluck you have to plan for, that sort of thing. But then while you're cooking, infuse that food with your intention. If it's abundant prosperity, if it's health and wellness, if it's, quality friendships, long-lasting quality relationships, then put that in the food. And while you're eating, remember what that intention is. Each bite, remind yourself of that intention. Be intentional as you eat and as you cook and as you prepare your food, as you prep your ingredients. Be intentional. Don't rush through it. And I think that's where we get lost with the cooking aspect, is that we feel like oh God, I got to get dinner on the table, instead of, wait a minute, what does this meal really mean? What is the core purpose of coming together for a meal? It's not just to feed our bodies. It's also to nourish our soul. And that's where magic in the kitchen really comes to play, is how am I nourishing everything? Mind, body, spirit. How am I getting myself into a position of where I am not only enjoying the meal and the process of creating the meal, but I'm also feeding my spirit and I am manifesting what I need and want in my life through this intentional practice.
The gods are alive here in Greece, waiting to share the wisdom of the old ways with you. I'm calling in the sacred travelers to join me on private day retreats this summer in Greece. Call on the oracle and be anointed in the Pythia's sacred spring at Delphi. Find empowerment at the temple of Artemis. Descend within at the temples of the Eleusinian mysteries. Swim in a goddess temple. Then let my drum guide you into the goddess cave, and so much more. If you are ready to meet the land spirits of Greece's most sacred sites, visit seekingnumina.com/in-person tours to view my packages today.
So some other summer rituals that I try to be mindful when I'm doing them is like the general chores you have to do around the house. So, cleaning the patio, pressure washing the deck or the sidewalk, maybe repainting something or weeding the garden. So all of these are an opportunity in the home for kitchen witches, for cottage witches, hearth and home witches, whatever you want to call yourself. Taking care of the home is essential for allowing that energy to move freely and not getting yourself into that funk of the clutter that tends to pile up. And trust me, this is a constant battle in my house because my husband likes to collect things and I like to throw them away. So the whole idea of making it a ritual, not necessarily seasonal, but just regular rituals of decluttering and cleaning things up. This is an opportunity to be very intentional and magical in it. So weeding the garden, when I'm pulling out weeds that don't belong in the beds that they find themselves, I will speak to it. So potentially if it's one that I can use, I will speak to the weed that I'm pulling and ask it if it has a purpose. Does it need to be used for something? So like right now I have cleavers that are growing everywhere. And I've been speaking to them because I've been warning them that they have to go. Because I don't know if you're familiar with cleavers, but they have these little sticky balls on them like Velcro. And if you just barely brush by them, they cling to you. So they get into fur. Yeah. Yeah. So they're very like sticky, but they have these little hairs on them that stick. But cleavers are incredibly medicinal. They're really, really good for you. They're so good for so many things. So now that they're maturing, I am going to pull them out. And of course, I'm going to end up having to sticky ball myself, but I will make them into a tincture. And that's my next big project is I will get them dried. I might just use them fresh actually. And I will get them out of my garden because they're growing like all over my mint. They're growing all over my lemon balm, my catnip, like they're just everywhere. So,
well, and I would imagine are they good for attracting? Like that's what I would say is they probably help you attract what you need to manifest.
Yeah, they're good for binding. So binding rituals, they're really, really good for binding rituals because it is a vine and because they cling to things, they're like glue. They are really, really good for binding rituals. So if you want to bind yourself to prosperity, you want to bind someone from harming themselves or others. Like I know like people tend to think when they think of binding rituals, oh, that's baneful magic, that's evil magic. It's not necessarily true. Sometimes we use binding rituals for good. Usually if I'm using it in a situation where someone's going to hurt someone else, that's when I think a binding ritual is good. Or when I want to bind myself to something that I'm aspiring to. Cleavers are a great magical ingredient for that because they're so clean.
Yeah, that's what I was like.
But I
think that might be the theme of them.
Yeah, they're very clingy. So, but in contrast to that, if you have somebody in your life who is too clingy, they can play a key role in getting that person to detach from you. So think about like different ways you can start using those weeds, those quote unquote weeds in your yard. Because they will tell you. They'll tell you how they want to be used or how they can be used.
And it's nice, too, to think that we can always just ask the plant. Like if we run across something that... Now, if you think it might be poisonous and you're like, oh, I'm going to put this in a stew. Like, we're not saying be careless, but...
Yeah. Definitely do your research.
Yeah, there's so many plant apps. Like, for most climates of the world, those photo plant apps will actually get it right to tell you what it is. And you can take it from several angles and double check it. But they'll at least get you the right family most of the time. Right plant family. So you can you can start growing that relationship just one plant at a time, you know, do an identity test on it and then see where you can spot it growing in other places. See if it starts to come to you more and more. And maybe it has a lesson for you. Maybe that's a plant teacher that wants to engage with you more one-on-one, more seriously. And it's that active listening again. You know, we talk about it a lot on the show, but being able to follow the witch's pyramid, you know, to know, to will, to dare, and to listen. So often to listen is written off as like, you know, studying stuff. But no, that's to know. Right. We also have to listen. Be silent. Yes.
Yeah. And you don't always have to eat the herbs.
Oh yeah, that's exactly.
So if it's questionable, like you can do something else.
Make a flower essence.
Like if you find exactly. You're not going to put poison ivy in a stew, but you can still work with poison ivy. Like you can still work with it.
And you can meditate with it.
Carefully.
Like again, I come back to that. Like sometimes I make flower essences simply by, because especially in Greece, it's so flippin' hot. So I'll go outside with a little bowl of water. I have one I always use for making flower essences. And I'll put the plant in it. You know, it's in the water, but it's not been picked. Yeah. Like it's still growing. So it nourishes the plant a little bit, and it gives me the opportunity. It's almost an offering to the plant. And water is also a conductor. So I find that it sort of helps the plant wake up and be aware and say, oh, thanks for the offering. Oh, hey, what can I do for you? You know, it's like buying somebody a drink before you ask them a bunch of questions. Like,
I like that. Merry meet,
merry part, and merry meet again.
Thank you for joining us on the Magic Kitchen podcast. Please visit my website, leandrawitchwood.com, for news, information, and more episodes.
I'm Elyse Wells, and I can be found at Seeking Numina on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, and seekingnumina.com. That's Seeking, Numina.